Evening, everyone. I'm going to ask you to say hello to the person next to you in your own dialect. If you do have a dialect, if you go to Australia and say g'day. That's a good start. Let me first acknowledge the Gadigal people of the people who belong to Eora nations, I believe. Eora. And they have given us a blessing to be in this beautiful country. I often say that Australia is a paradise. If I die, I'll tell God to bring me back here so I can grow. So, thank you. So I'm going to read my message for you guys. The Asylum Seekers Centre asked me to give a speech tonight. But before I could write this speech, I need to answer a question for myself. Why am I giving this speech? Is it because I'm special? Is it because I'm genius? Or is it because I am a refugee? And am I still a refugee despite the fact that I now have a country that I belong to? In my understanding, Refugee Week is about both the flight and the contribution of refugees. But let's not forget about a phobia, a fear that others held against the refugees. So let's not forget about that. I know you will agree when I say this. We should not limit our recognition to 1 week of the year. Every day of the year, we should recognize on a daily basis that refugees need assistance. On a global level, we manufacture them daily. It is important to remind humanity about our failures. And one of our major failures is the people who have been misplaced in the world. This year, especially, is an important year for everyone in Australia. There is a policy being decided in the national election. Each household and individual, from the grassroots up, has the power to decide the fate of other human beings. In 2012, I was interviewed in the media with a former Commonwealth Attorney General and Immigration Minister, Philip Reddox. We were speaking about the queue, the issue of queue jumping. I told the media that when you are running away from a war, when you are running away or running for your life, and knowing that if you stay, you will die, you don't see a queue. You don't see forms, you don't see procedure, you don't see a queue. I'll repeat that again. You just see your life. It is you against the world, and you want to survive, no matter what you have got to do. You will jump over a fire, because life is precious to each person. I can relate to that, too. I left my homeland of South Sudan, or Sudan. As a 12-year-old child soldier, I was taken away from my mother, age 6, to go and learn to fight. When I escaped from South Sudan in the back of a truck, I was not waiting in a queue. When I waited in a refugee camp in Kenya, I didn't see anyone lining up. The queue is a myth because every single person deserves a freedom equally. The queue is like a song with no meaning, like Britney Spears. Oops, I did it again. A song that is meaningless. My late older brother, John March, risked his life by hiding me in the back of a truck. He hid me under some sacks and got me across the border of Kenya and out of a war zone. I believe some would call him a people smuggler. Indeed, as a previous speaker, a friend from Africa, and in particular Burundi, Desire. My brother died in 2014. He was killed in a war. But he died because he lost his dignity. Couldn't get a job in this country. So he moved to South Sudan and he met his fate. So I can understand how it feels like to have no job. But you are in a good hands. You are in Australia. You will practice as a doctor soon. Just because I had someone looking out for me, someone willing to risk the firing squad to get me out, it doesn't mean my life is more valuable than anyone else. Just because I had the ability to run faster over land, yes, which I'm good at it, it doesn't disqualify the person who got here by a plane or came by sea. Who is crazy enough to get on those boats, try to get to Australia? Somebody who wants to leave. He's running scared. I won't do it. I can't swim, so I won't do it. So let's always, and I said that before, let's treat those who came by boat, and if their boats arrive here safely, as heroes. Our political leaders are not telling us about the real problem, and that is access to the queue. We don't know what queue look like. Political leaders should have courage. Using the issues of refugee and migrants taking our jobs and queue jumpers to win vote is not courage. These issues have been used in Australian election for the last 2 decades. We're all aware of that. The Australian people deserve to have their leaders direct their attention to real problems, the real issues that are nearest to our heart, such as education, such as destruction of our natural environment, things such as healthcare, Medicare, which is basically under threat. We should all be looking at the real economics, about creating employment and opportunities for everyone, just like St. Vincent is doing at the moment. But talking about queue jumpers and migrants taking our job, our leaders are deflecting our attention from important issues. Compared to Europe and North America, Australia doesn't have a serious influx of people seeking asylum here. The obsession for Australian politicians is absurd. especially because, except for the indigenous people of Australia, we are all migrants. If you go one or few generations back, only indigenous people could legitimately be annoyed about refugees. But in my experience, they are too busy worrying about education, the environment, and important issues I just talked about to bother such silly fears. In my view, it is un-Australian. There is an unexplained fear of asylum seekers and migrants. But I always say they are not invaders. They are not here to invade anyone. They are not coming with guns. They are coming with their life only. And that's all they have got. And if a person approaches you with their hands raised above their head, it is not threatening anyone. And these people that are coming with their hands raised above their heads, we still lock them up. As a lawyer, I couldn't give this speech without making one important point. Offshore detention is illegal under international law. It is illegal, and it is illegal, and it is illegal, and it is illegal to decent Australians, especially those who are in this hall tonight. It is illegal. It is the most inhumane thing that Australia does. As a respectable, beautiful country, as a powerhouse, as a country that is founded on the values of inclusiveness, and we're still working on that. It completely goes against the grain of our national representation, whether we're looking at international or within us, especially in this hall. Australia is involved in the detention of children offshore, and Dr. Young has clearly articulated that. So we are very, especially me, I'm quite very moved by your work, and thank you for not being part of those guys. You know, stay away. What kind of country does that? Countries similar to South Sudan. Yeah, definitely, because they conscripted me into the army. They were actually criminal, taking away people's children. Australia is doing exactly that. It's no different. Why we detain children and lock them up in prison, in cells? Really? Kids? I need to think about it. Some of children are born in prison. They will be in prison indefinitely. Some will die in prison. How did it come? How did we become such a country? I don't know. But you don't need me to preach about policy. I don't like policies. Each citizen can assess things on their own merits. Don't take my word for it. It is an election year, and we all need to switch on. We are uneducated people. Each individual needs to do their own research. Let's not jump to conclusion about refugees. We should all act by looking at the facts. These are the facts I have come to know. I am Australian. I'm African. I'm South Sudanese. I'm Deng Adut. I'm a lawyer. I am a refugee. That's all I can say, and thank you.